Now, speaking about the Me Too movement, Greta Gerwig actually went on to tell reporters at a press conference that the movement had led to, quote, substantive change for the better in the film industry, and also saying that that conversation should continue to expand. Well, that's what we're going to talk about now with Annette Young, the host of the 51%, France 24's Women's Show. Annette, always great to have you here on the show. Now, it's interesting but not surprising comments that we just heard there from Greta Gerwig, given that she directed that smash feminist hit Barbie. The big question, I guess, is will anyone listen to what she has to say?
Indeed. I do think things have changed because I don't know whether you remember, but back in 2015, there was a group of women who turned up at Cannes Film Festival, heavens forbid, wearing flats. And they were ordered by the organisers, no, sorry, the only shoes we accept for women to wear out on the red carpet are high heels. Now, fast forward 9 years on, and I think things have changed a little bit, perhaps not as much as many would like. But Greta Gerwig talking about that when she had a press conference yesterday with reporters, saying that, you know, people are only trying to change things for the better, which is a good thing, referring to obviously these ongoing wave after wave of allegations of behaviour, inappropriate behaviour that we've been hearing about in the last few months. And she said it's only this sort of conversation happening that we need to move forward and we need to expand the conversation and keep talking about it. And French actor and fellow jury member Omar Sy also backing her up by saying it's a good sign that women are coming forward and nowadays have the courage to speak out. Now, of course, yesterday, Le Monde published this extraordinary black and white photo of somewhere around 100 individuals, all of whom were making a stand as such in support of Me Too. Most of them have been victims of sexual harassment, abuse and violence. They included actors such as Juliette Binoche, Isabelle Adjani and Julie Gaye, as well as people from the field of sports, politics and media, and most importantly also included some men, all arguing that inequality and the existing power structure favours sexist and sexual violence here in France, while collective denial sort of protects the aggressors. They demand a rewriting, as such, of French law, which will clarify, among other things, the definition of rape and consent, and also introduce the concept incest, to expand protection orders for rape victims and also look at establishing specialised units investigating sexual crimes. And of course, they only have to look south of the border to Spain, which is amazing when you think of the fact that this country, Spain, 50 plus years ago was under a fascist dictatorship, but nowadays is so far ahead of France and others when it comes to innovative ways of addressing sexual violence. So, you know, the conversation is very present and it's becoming a perennial, dare I say, at Cannes Film Festival.
Just a quick word on a woman who's really become the forefront of this movement, at least in Cannes this year, Judith Godrèche, who's screening a film tonight, a short film that she made about the Me Too movement.
Yes, indeed, and it's called Moi Aussi, and it is a sort of a continuation of the allegations that we heard about quite a few months back, in which she said filmmakers Benoît Jacot and Jacques Doyon had sexually assaulted her when she was a teenager. She called herself a teenage mistress as such. And these were allegations that rocked the world of French cinema. Now, both men having denied the accusations, though much of the French film industry up until that point had been relatively reluctant to talk about Me Too. We did see, obviously, back in 2017, when the Me Too movement first emerged in Hollywood, some discussion, but it didn't have the same resonance as it did in America. It is interesting about Godrèche's allegations. They certainly hit a nerve with the French public, and she'll be screening her short film today. So it'll be interesting to see what the response is from her industry peers.
Right, and as you said, there definitely seems to be a shift in tone from 2017 when this first became a thing in France, the whole Me Too movement here as well. Would you say this is really a seismic shift that we're seeing?
I think it's the beginning of a seismic shift, Jeannie. I think, what we're seeing is what I call the generational divide that exists here in France between people aged 40 and above and 40 and under. And you certainly see that among the feminist movement in this country, that younger women are much more out there with their views. Whereas, back in 2018, with the fallout of the MeToo movement, we saw Catherine Deneuve and 100 other prominent women signing a letter saying the MeToo movement went too far, that it impacted the concept of the French concept rather of seduction, that, it wasn't allowing men and women to interact without being concerned about whether they'd stepped over a red line as such. What's tipped the balance? I probably would argue a couple of things. I think the fact that younger women now are on social media, they're more likely to be au fait with other feminist movements elsewhere in the world, particularly in the English-speaking world. And I would argue, as someone who's done this for over a decade, there is a difference between feminism in the English-speaking world versus here in France. But also that documentary back in December, which showed acting icon Gerard Depardieu using very inappropriate sexist slurs, including towards a child, and displaying inappropriate behaviour, and that outraged France. And then what we saw was the President Emmanuel Macron saying, "Oh, I don't want him to be a victim of manhunt," and that in turn sparked a massive petition. I think somewhere in the order of 8,000 or so people, artists and celebrities and so on, saying no, it is wrong, it is sexist. So I think we are indeed starting to witness a change in the way in which the French public view what is appropriate behaviour towards women versus what is not.
All right, Annette, thanks so much, and thanks for keeping an eye on that for us, because it certainly is a story that is developing as we move forward. Thank you so much for that, Annette Young, host of The 51%. Thanks to you for